Yeah. Hello, hello. All right, this is loud. Hi everyone. It's good to have a lot of listeners here, and it's a pleasure to see all of you. And we can already start the show, start a panel discussion. Hello. We are Roman and Arvidas. We are here as co-hosts today, and we represent Catalysta Ventures, the startup accelerator and private equity fund focused on sustainability. And we also represent ROCKIT Impact Accelerator, the coolest accelerator in town. I'm not afraid to say that. And, today we have this amazing event called Special Fridays. But first, let us introduce ourselves, perhaps, because not all of us are acquainted yet. So my name is Roman. I'm trying to support startups as part of Catalysta Ventures. So I work as this bridge between startups and corporates. But also, I'm a big fan of innovation, of sustainable innovation. We have a podcast actually together with my co-host. We have many other projects we run. So it's a pleasure to be here and host this event as well. And my colleague and friend and co-host Arvidas will now introduce himself.
Yeah, so while Roman is trying to help startups, I'm helping startups. Joking, of course, here. So we are working with startups, with corporates, and with every soul which thinks or who thinks that we are innovator. So that's who we are, and also investing to some of them. So if you have got great ideas, please come and let's check them as well. And yeah, let's move to our guests maybe. Yeah, Roman.
Sure. So why are we all here? We have this amazing initiative which was suggested internally. Why not to organize an event every Friday or every second Friday where we discuss the most pressing topics, the most interesting topics for the community we have. And we called it Special Fridays. We actually discussed maybe call it Happy Fridays, maybe something else, but we settled on this Special Fridays because every second Friday we invite very special people, experts in their industries, experts in their use cases, and we ask them to share their insights. We ask them to share their thoughts on these topics we want to cover. And this Special Fridays, as I mentioned, is part of this a bit bigger, larger initiative called Sustainable Innovation Community. And I hope that many of you have heard of this event through this community, but if you haven't, there will be a way to join this community through Slack. So there we have a very diverse bunch of people that are communicating, that are kind of building these relationships, building partnerships, and working towards making Lithuania, Baltics, Europe, and the world more sustainable, primarily through innovation. So there will be multiple different opportunities. There will be events, partnerships. There will be some insights within the community and elsewhere. So, if you're still not there, you better join. And here is the code you can use to join this community. So let's leave it maybe for a couple of seconds. And I see some people are scanning it already, so that's good. But
we have a KPI from each event to have at least 20 new sign-ups, so please do it.
Please share it with your friends, put it on your Instagram story, and let's share it. Sharing is caring, as they say. So this is our community and this is our event, but why are we here today particularly? What's the topic we are discussing? So the topic we want to discuss is actually very important for all of us in this audience and probably for everybody who lives, the cities, the sustainable cities, and why exactly the cities, We are noticing throughout these past decades that, cities play a very integral role in the society. Most of the people live in the cities and the urbanization rates are going through the roof. cities are now involved in many different ways that they weren't before. So we had this COVID pandemic, and we have noticed how certain cities were organized in a way that actually facilitated the spread of the pandemic and, made it super difficult for them. The infrastructure perhaps wasn't ready for this sort of shock event. Then we are having this refugee crisis right now, and we had it before with multiple cities accepting refugees that are, increasing the population of cities by 20, 30, 40%. So, how can we make sure that the cities we live in are sustainable, smart, safe, and, how can we make sure that they are closer to this Telosa on the photo? And that's why we are here. That's why we have this brilliant panel of experts here who will share their insights, because each of them, in a different way, is involved in shaping the cities we live in particular Vilnius and other Lithuanian cities. So perhaps let's introduce them. Right, Arvidas?
Sure. Let's do it. So, Roman, you want to be the first one to introduce?
Sure. Let me go ahead. So here we have Ekaterina, sitting next to Arvidas, actually. And, Ekaterina, you wear many hats. When you look at your LinkedIn, you can see you are a researcher, you are a professor, you are a co-founder, a facilitator. But the favorite hat that was most interesting for me is this urban game developer. And Ekaterina told us that she organized this interesting game called The Traces of the Beast, if I translated correctly, because it was in Lithuanian. And I'm just curious, so how did it go? Did you invite some wild animals, they were chasing the people, and in a way they were kind of learning something? Or tell us, what is The Traces of the Beasts?
Thank you. So your idea of animals tracing the participants of the game is brilliant, because sometimes in urban studies we say that cities need to be rewilded. So introducing animals on the streets, maybe it's also a nice part of cities being rewilded. But in my experience, we use city games for changing the navigation in the cities. So we work with urban walks, and we see what parts of the cities could be more actively used and are underused, and what parts of the city has huge cultural potential but are forgotten because people are used to go to the city center usually. So we are usually going from one city to another, hired to develop new routes in the city and to attract new flows of people to certain city areas. But also urban games are used recently to promote safety for kids, because some cities, especially in Germany, they get aware about kids more actively exploring. They want kids to explore more actively the environment in the city. And what they're worried about, that our children, they're usually sitting at homes and they're mostly into browsing, but not into navigating city. So some small games are also for the kids, they can promote this use of urban areas.
That's a pretty big topic, because now kids are navigating the TikToks and Instagrams and not the cities and neighborhoods they live in. So that's really nice that you're doing.
You have a lot of kids nearby, actually. When you come here, you see the school, and also you immediately get very nice atmosphere of this place, that this cluster, here you have so many young and creative people, and next to you there is a school. So there is already such a good interconnections between these places.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I can't wait to play these games as well, with my kids as well. So the next speaker here, the next panel person here is Raimundas, the head of B2B products in Tele2. And within Tele2, it seems that you are supporting all these technologies and making cities smart and smarter. So does it mean that, Raimundas, one day all the pavements will have also SIM cards installed, or what's the idea here behind it?
Some people joke that you already, by vaccination, you already have received some artificial intelligence into your shoulder. But, here I represent the corporate, but we don't consider Tele2 a standard corporate. Anyway, we are a pretty big company, pretty big investor here in Lithuania, and we support a lot of technologies. One day, everything will be interconnected, but this, when we are talking about the smart city, network is just one layer. Usually when you talk about smart city, you're calling about PPT, and this is not a PowerPoint presentation, but people, process, and technology. So technology is just one layer that underlines and maybe enables some things. When you look at the smart city, there are sensors that basically are at your fingertips. There are network that needs to transmit the data that's basically your nerves, and there is a brain that makes the decision. So if you have a lot of sensors or a lot of network, will mean nothing. Your city will not be a smart one. You have to do everything. It should work in parallel. So sometime we will be interconnected and smart, and we will feel a lot of things.
Good to know. Good to know that people will be still needed in smart cities in the future, not only technologies. Thank you. Raimundas?
All right, and next guest I want to introduce is actually the representative of something different than a corporate. So we said Tele2 is not regular corporate, but here we have a startup which is kind of disrupting this industry. And we have here Edmundas, who is the CEO and co-founder of Citify. So I actually have a very particular question for you, Edmundas. And what you're doing at Citify, you are mapping so many cities. You are trying to, make them more sustainable, make them a bit more, efficient, effective, right? But is there a way you can map them and plan them to avoid this 5 o'clock traffic? Because that's the part that worries me the most.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. That's a good question. How many words do I have to answer?
Take your time.
The main idea that we're trying to do is to open the development of the city to everyone. So basically connecting people, government, and businesses, the whole triangle of city development into one body to let everyone know. Let people know what is being planned. Let businesses know how they can find better places to build and what they can build, and also help government to know what is actually being built. Because we often talk with municipalities and other government bodies, and they say, well, we kind of know what is being planned in the city, but what is actually being built, how the city is going to look in 2 years, 3 years, what buildings will be up, what buildings are still being planned. We don't have this information. So I think that Citify here is able to help by sharing the information, by collecting, aggregating, and then sharing information about what is being built, actually being built, what are the dates, the stages, etc. So the city can actually could plan movement of people, movement of cars, the need for schools and etc. Yeah.
Great, super.
Nice. Thank you. Now, last but definitely not the least, panelists, Thomas, Deputy Mayor, Public Policy, and you worked in Bolt, in Google before. Now you work in municipality, so I think lots of people asking why you moved there and so on, but I will not ask it. I'm super happy that you did that. I think that our municipality need more smart people here, and I'm happy that we have you as well. What I will ask, actually, is recently I read that, and you actually shared it as well, that, what's your secret? How you helped Vilnius to be selected among 100 cities to be led climate neutrality? So, what is happening, Tom, here?
Okay, thank you for a very kind introduction. Yes, I'm Deputy Mayor of Vilnius and responsible for 3 main areas or portfolios within the municipality, which is education, infrastructure, and social affairs. So I have both hardware, the infrastructure, but also the responsibility for the next generation talents that should use that infrastructure. And that's a very, for me personally, that's the interesting part of the job, to sort of see the connection between the two. Now, to to your question, right, on the 100 selection of 100 sustainable and smart cities in the EU, yeah, we actually submitted that application with a lot of confidence that we will make it into the list, just because the number of work that has been already accomplished was quite long, starting with the, green wave that is actually continuing in the city, as you can see, and the number of plants and trees and shrubs that are being put on the streets, and I think that is visible everywhere. But there are smaller but not less important things that have been going, like decisions on banning coal for heating, getting rid of the fireworks that unfortunately are very, very polluting, though we often don't realize that. So there was a long list of already accomplished things in the city, and when I personally had that meeting with the European Commission when we were negotiating, and I not only felt, I think it was straightforward from the European Commission that they already see Vilnius as a strong candidate, and they want cities like Vilnius actually to apply, because they want strong partners to work till 2030, which is the ambition now, a climate neutral city by 2030. That's an ambition. Again, I'm saying there will be much to accomplish, and one of the things that we are looking very much within this project with the EU Commission is actually getting smarter on how to measure that we are really on the right route to that objective. Because I think the measurement is something that is not so obvious.
I totally agree and support you on that one. And yeah, it's nice to see that we already are in the top 100 cities here. So, we can be happy as we all are here. And then, yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to the topic as well. So, I want to ask a question from the audience, very quick one. So, Telosa, I mean, who had to Google that? So yeah, I was the one as well who was Googling and thinking, oh my God, what it is, what we are talking about here. But now, to be honest, after a few hours researching, I feel like I'm a co-founder of that. I joined a network, I'm in this community, kind of registered to be, to visit that city as well. So just in short, the ones who didn't Google that, Telosa, it's, and I called it Telosa, maybe it's, for me, it's like French term. I like it more than Telosa, but probably everyone can choose their own pronunciation. The idea behind that city is to create a new city within the United States. It's a project which could be combining the best parts of all the cities in the world and to make it kind of, this heaven in Earth. And they plan to finish that project by 2030. So within 10 years, we plan it. Of course, it's ambition as well. Around 1 million inhabitants should be there, and the density should be similar to San Francisco. That's their kind of the goal. But right now, when we have this topic and we already understand it, so maybe let's go to include our audience here as well. And the first very simple question we have actually is, according to the topic we have today. So how far do you think Vilnius is now from this, most desired city in the world? And yeah, we will ask our technical assistant to put the slide over here and for everyone to use the Menti to vote. And we, the audience, will start to discuss this question already. So, we can start, and probably, who wants to be the first one? So, yeah, I see that we have a volunteer. So what do you think, this utopian city and Vilnius, how far we are we on the right track, what we miss, what we are happy about already? So, some few comments from your side, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think putting that city name here, as a topic for discussion was a very successful provocation. Seeing all the hands up, myself also, I Google what's the beast that we will be talking about. Before you vote or give the answers to that question, I made some home reading about the Telosa, what is it, and I found that they actually copied Vilnius principles for streets. They put very clearly that Telosa will prioritize pedestrians and bicycles vis-a-vis whatever other transport, also putting forward the public transport, as I understand. So actually, if you look at check the 12 principles that are now applied in Vilnius streets, one of them says pavement should clearly indicate the priority for pedestrians and for bicycles. So I guess they checked on Vilnius before announcing their own standards for Telosa streets. That's my answer.
Okay, so it seems that the question should be reverted to how far Telosa is from Vilnius, not vice versa, yeah? I mean, yeah, we have some answers here as well, and yeah, that's opinion of the people, and part of the things are communication as well, I guess. So, that's why we have guests here to show and to tell us about all these things, because afterwards, maybe, we don't know maybe some things as well, and it's nice to hear, this opinion as well from you, Thomas. So I see that you, Raimundas, also want to comment.
I like the yellow one. It should receive a lot of more votes. But actually, to answer how far is Vilnius from Telosa, something like 8,000 kilometers, because they're planning to build it somewhere in the desert in Iowa or near Appalachian Mountains. But I would not agree with you. The plan for the city is like in Paris, it's Haussmann Boulevard. The Haussmann was the guy who burned the city to make the streets. So I think what they are doing now and what we should do in Vilnius.
Okay. What about you?
Sure, yeah. I'll say that Vilnius is ahead of Telosa because we already have a city. So we don't have to build anything from the scratch, We just have to improve it. Yeah, and so I think that Vilnius is going in the right direction, definitely, yeah.
I will add one characteristics which always is out of discussion when it's urbanists and architects speaking about the cities. They forget that cities actually are placed in natural conditions, in certain conditions. And here we have, in Telosa case, we have desert. And in the Vilnius case, we have completely different situation. So we should go in different ways, I think, because naturally we have different conditions. And that's very important to keep in mind because it's also about the winds, characteristics of how air moves in the city, also the access to the water, and also all this biological diversity is completely different. And my question was also when I see the city being built in or thought about in the desert. So how they're going also to, to include all this biodiversity to the city. So the desert also offers some things. It's blooming in springtime. It's a quite nice place to be during some very short period of time. But in Telosa vision, I didn't saw that they want to incorporate somehow this natural surrounding and environment into their project.
Thank you. I mean, as a part of this project right now, I feel with all this community, I would definitely ask, but I would also, advise you to sign in and ask these questions, because it's an open forum. Everyone can sign in and ask questions and participate. So for me, it's like, yeah, utopian thing, and I understand that there are lots of questions, and that what I like about that discussion is that there are lots of elements as well. I mean, it's not so simple, and it's not like one-way direction, and maybe that's probably a good way also to move to the second question today and to discuss what are the essential parts. Yeah, Roman, so.
Sure, and to be honest, I was quite happy to hear what the deputy mayor said just now, that Vilnius is ahead of Telosa. So now let's hope that it also attracts billions in infrastructure funding from these rich investors that are funding Telosa. So that's the other hope I now have. But also, when we talk about these cities, it's kind of an interesting discussion, because very often you cannot have everything in one place. When we think of this, our favorite cities, right? Let's say Barcelona or Stockholm or Copenhagen or Zurich or Tokyo, they have certain characteristics which they are strong in, but certain ones that are, not so well developed. So for example, if we take a city in China that has all these cameras on the streets that can track crime, and there is virtually no crime, it's super safe. It's probably also very clean because they have these incentives to not pollute and, disincentives to pollute, so to speak. But, is that city democratic? Is it inclusive? Is it, at the end of the day, vibrant and happy? So, the question for you and for the panel today is, which of these characteristics are essential for the city to have? And, let's treat it as a pyramid, which is the block that's kind of the fundamental part, and then we can build upon everything else. So what do you think? Is it safe and clean, like Zurich, for example? Is it maybe vibrant and diverse, like Barcelona? Is it sustainable and green, like Copenhagen? Or is it prosperous and inclusive, like Singapore? So maybe first question would go to Ekaterina here. And what do you think about this inclusivity and prosperity? Do you think that this is the part we can work on?
It's difficult to choose sometimes if you have this set of characteristics. But I think that during also 3.5 billion of years of evolution, it was proven what is the most smartest way to survive. It's to adapt to the changing situations. So adaptability of the city to the climate crisis, to social crises, to economic crises is the most important part actually for the cities. And I myself is a huge fan of Baltic Sea region. I really see it as prosperous region, which is also very sensitive to social topics, which has huge green potential, huge ecological potential. So I think this Copenhagen here for sure takes my heart. And also I would maybe mention as illustration, several years ago I was in Kiel. It's a German city by the Baltic Sea, and there the architect working in municipality, he told me that we try to make cities safe even for the hedgehogs. So that's why everywhere in the city you can see the shrubs going through all the city, and you really feel, then after that I understood that, oh, it's very smart, because if you make cities safe for the hedgehogs, it will be safe for kids. You will not be worried about letting your kids go to the school by walks. And also what is important in the smart cities, they also stress that it's important to implement this 15 minutes principle in the cities. So that means that you get all the functions which are needed, including recreational function, including parks, and including all the social infrastructure in 15 minutes walk from your house. So it's something we really need to orient ourselves when we develop the city. So Copenhagen for sure, but also a bit of Barcelona, Singapore, and so on.
All the cities are nice, I would say. It's also some...
You mentioned this.
Okay.
You mentioned that you're a fan of Baltic states, and to be honest, I'm not a Baltic states citizen, and I'm not kind of native to Vilnius, but I already feel like a local, and I've lived here for quite some time. I've lived in other cities, but honestly, I think Vilnius is my favorite, and I'm kind of proud to call myself a little bit of a Vilnietis, actually. So I completely agree with you that that Vilnius is and Baltic states are ahead of the game even in some cases, and that's really nice to hear, and that's really nice to see this statistic, so to speak, or this trend. But another question I have is for Thomas here. So what do you think of this safe and clean city? Is it the fundamental part that needs to be built before anything else, or is it something you can focus on after you get the economics kind of done, after you become prosperous, and then you kind of take care of the safety and cleanness? What do you think?
I would not isolate any of these characteristics into and not try to prioritize one against the other. For a key word for me, looking at this question, is actually resilience. And resilience as something, as a very strategic characteristic that actually allows you to adapt to any situation, but also always be ready to take advantage of any opportunity that comes up, and also be ready to act and, resist in case of crisis. So resilience had a very concrete meaning during the COVID crisis, right? So we all experienced it clearly citywide, nationwide, continent-wide, everywhere, right? But I think there are lessons learned now from it. All of your systems have to be ready anytime for a disruption. We welcome disruptors, teaching us a lot also about new opportunities. But I think this strategic resilience is the characteristic of the city. It also has to be the characteristic of the state. In order to train ourselves together to be ready to grab the opportunity when it arrives, but also be ready to change, adapt whenever, a crisis, any sort of crisis that comes up. So I would say that we should aim at resilience as the key objective, and it definitely includes all those characteristics that are on the screen now.
That's asking to pick one of these is like asking to pick your favorite child. It's not easy to do, but at the end of the day, we also understand it's very difficult to focus on all of them. So, when you identify this resilience, it actually makes sense that this is the kind of key characteristic. But also you mentioned these disruptors, and now I have a question for Edmundas. So through Citify and through what you are doing, have you identified a way to maybe combine all of these things, or are you focusing on one of these kind of characteristics? So maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, sure. What are cities? So cities are the powerhouse of countries, right? The economic centers. And who is generating the economy? People. So I say that wellness of people and sustainability and happiness of people living in the cities is probably one of the main goals for the city government to look into. And so when why people are happy? When there are greenery in the city, when they can walk, when they get services they need, where they don't have to spend a lot of time in traffic, where they have a lot of friends, and etc. So I'll say that sustainability and greenery of the city and development of happiness of people is truly a main goal. And one of the keys is obviously openness. When people feel like they are welcome in the city, when they can participate in the city development, and when they're happy with what is going on in the city, and when something is being built and they can participate and tell their ideas and maybe change the project, etc. So that's definitely helping to level up that happiness level. So yeah. I hope I answered.
That makes sense. And, I studied economics previously, and my favorite metric in economics was not GDP, but actually happiness. And there was this many economists who actually said, why don't we measure the success of countries by happiness level? So, I completely agree with you, and that's a very noble goal you have.
Yeah, there is an index, I think it's called the Social Development Index or something like that. And so a lot of people are now saying that this metric should be considered instead of GDP. Yeah.
And actually in Copenhagen, they have the Institute of Happiness, which was the state decision to launch this institute because actually it's Baltic states countries, these Nordic countries, they decided also to promote their cities on the base of the index of happiness.
They are leading on that metric, so that's why they are doing it. When you're first, of course, you have institute, you have Ministry of Happiness, you have everything.
And by the way, when you think about Barcelona, you always think about happy people. Probably, I'm not sure about Zurich. I never been there, but I would say that people should be happy in Barcelona than Zurich. It's my own perception, but it's just my thinking.
For sure, and it might be different on the metrics of the happiness report and the social development index, but we can double check that later. And in this question, I want to ask Raimondas as well, because you are very related to this connectivity, to making the city smarter. So making the city smarter, what does it help with? Is it like making it more vibrant and diverse? Is it making it more sustainable, more prosperous, or all of them? Maybe you could comment on that as well.
The simple answer is all and none, because the connectivity, as I said, it is just the first layer. People, processes, and then only then lies the technology or infrastructure or whatever. But when I look at this graph, I come from business, and I can say it very simply. If you are choosing just one, then you're a niche player. If you want to participate, if you have to be a mass player, you have to include everything. So I just want to echo what Thomas said. You cannot exclude anything. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle with 10 or 5 or 20 pieces. And if you want to make this puzzle look right, you have to have all the puzzles and all the pieces into place. Technology is enabler. As we see it. It's not that putting a lot of sensors in the street will make cities smarter. We can have a lot of sensors in every lamp post, in every parking place, what Kaunas is doing now. We can have every water meter connected and broadcasting data, but just that's one layer. The second layer is to get all this data, and here we can help, I believe. And the third layer is to analyze this data and make the decisions. So we can have a lot of Gs, 5Gs, 4Gs, and whatever Gs they are coming in the future. Basically, already 5Gs will allow to connect million devices in every square kilometer when everything will be enabled and done and created, because these products are not exist yet. But if we will have the sensors, it doesn't matter, we are smarter. It's just like having 10 fingers on every hand, You can touch much more. But what your brain will do to that, it's the question here. So I like these initiatives that are in Vilnius with open data. I believe it can be a lot more. Maybe we can go the way that Amsterdam goes, where they are publishing yearly competitions for the startups, corporates, and whatever wants to participate, saying, okay, now we have annual competition for the things what we can do smart in the city, something like that. It's very open event, and the way everybody can join and contribute, both startups and individuals alike. So we can be smarter with only if we will process information, not only when we will gather it. Because it's considered that 50% of the world's smart cities are in China. They have a lot of cameras. They are very good at detecting every car that's going on, every person that's going on into the train station. And we have to understand that there are millions of them, and they can detect everyone. So they are smart, and they are using AI, artificial intelligence, a lot. But is it really is becoming vibrant? I'm not sure. So it depends how we will use the information.
For sure, and you mentioned kind of including many different people and in development of the cities, in suggesting new ideas. And actually, I'll give a shout to one of the projects we ran as Catalysta Ventures, which was the City of Tomorrow Hackathon, which was kind of a similar concept, but interesting thing, we involved children. So the children were the ones creating the teams and creating the solutions for better, more sustainable, more inclusive cities. And to be honest, I was impressed at what level those teenagers can think and actually pitch and develop these solutions. So that's maybe another kind of idea for all of you to never forget about children and what they can contribute, because sometimes they see the world from a different perspective, and sometimes, that perspective is even more insightful.
And maybe what's also very interesting with that hackathon we ran with children, top 3 teams which were winners, none of these solutions were technical, to be honest. So if number 1 was bees, house of bees on the roofs, so we built some kind of easy, simple solution for that one. The second one, I think it was from Estonia, it was schools and making these green walls of kind of, plants on the schools. And the third one was kind of a community house concept as well. So, it was no technologies, but it's also kind of, so this is how our children and our youth sees the cities as well. So this is also very interesting here. But we also have the audience, so, whoever wants to, to please more people, so probably we need to be similar to Barcelona and Copenhagen. I'm joking, of course, here. But yeah, that's probably what people are thinking here. And let's move maybe to the next question, which, I understand that, it's, and we already touched on, Raimund said that it's not about technologies, but, it's also interesting probably to hear, so what are innovations happening? What innovations do you know around you? And, either it's technical or technological, maybe they're not technological at all. So what are kind of happening and what is coming to our towns and how it will change our cities within 10 years. So it's also very interesting, and I understand that we all have lots of articles, read lots of articles, go there, and we have some kind of, few even answers for the audience to vote. And for you, you don't need to choose one of these, but, we also have. And we read about these kind of things. So one example, of course, everyone knows Elon Musk and Hyperloop idea. But, one thing which I liked a lot, it was the smart city lighting. And they are experimenting that in Canada right now. And the idea is that it, it manages to track whenever crime can happen. And when they are playing with lights and they are avoiding that crime. So this is kind of interesting thing to think about. So, audience can vote. I think, I see that everyone is commuting, so probably that's why traffic jams are the most interesting thing for them. But, everyone can comment here. So what's your favorite, maybe, innovation or aspect which is coming to the cities and, how it can shape the cities? So, Raimund does already have 10 of them, so please tell us.
Maybe I'm talking too much here on the panel, but I can say the projects that are coming not only in Vilnius, because we are the group of the companies, and we are also present in Kista, that is considered, it's the district near Stockholm that is considered for a long time European Silicon Valley, more or less. So Tele2, Ericsson, defense of the Sweden, whatever, it's in Kista. So we have a lot of interesting projects going on in our group. In Vilnius, there are already kind of smart lighting system. But the problem is that every light post is connected to the other, and they are meshing. So if one guy with the new or old, most probably old BMW hits the first post, the light post, all the other part is disconnected. So devil is in the details. You can have the smart lighting, but it depends how it's done. So recycling bins, it's also they are not for overflow, but for smart cities, and the European smart cities are changing the attitude from maintenance on schedule from maintenance on demand. And it is a big paradigm shift that requires a lot of changes in all the organization and everywhere, how you build the city, how you manage the city. So it's already coming, and I believe it will come pretty soon to Vilnius. But I already mentioned that the biggest potential and the biggest threat, it is city cameras. Because it is privacy-related things. I don't think audience is voting for the road sensors to prevent city jam. I don't think it is the major problem. I don't think it is the major problem and the major thing we have to go in Vilnius.
So what do we need to go, Raimondas?
We need to go. We need to go on integration of the data we already have. That's the most important part. You can have the traffic lights that are controlled remotely, but maybe you can dim them when it is too dark or or the dusk is, then you can maybe change the lighting. But it is not included, the sensor is not included in the traffic light. But you already have the smart lighting system in the streets that knows, is it too dark or is it dusk or midnight? So if you will use the data from the street lighting to know the level of the darkness, to change the level of your traffic lights, or intensity of the traffic lights, that's the next level. That's not this, it's where you can get the data benefits from integration. You do not need to change traffic lights. You don't need to invest. You can use the data that you already have. So that's the idea for the startups.
Okay, thank you. So I hope Tele2 is working on that already. Okay, so yeah, please.
I just wanted to add that to that idea of data and the integration of data. Vilnius recently announced a map of Poland for people who have allergies. And they have this one sensor of Poland in I think it's in Žirmūnai or something like that, and it can detect in a radius of around 30 kilometers. And so that's a smart thing to do, but a much smarter thing to do would be to get the data from health institutions about the people who have allergies, combine the data with where those people are living, and maybe water the streets when the pollen index is high, water the streets where those people are living to lower that situation, to help. That would be a very smart thing to do regarding the data integration and collaborating between institutions. Yeah.
Very, very interesting insight. So it seems like algorithms right now should be the next layer because we already have a lot of technology in town, you're saying. Okay. So yeah, I think Katrina wants to add that as well, and then of course Thomas as well. So yeah, who wants to be first? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Very, very interesting ideas indeed. I will comment lately, but now to answer the question, which is my favorite, of course, I would like to see a Hyperloop going from Fabijoniškės to Vilnius Center.
In 2 minutes
no
or
question,
a minute.
no
or
question.
What will be that?
Tomorrow. Now, but more realistically, well, you actually painted it very well about the lighting. It's already here. The smart lighting, the LEDs that have been installed are actually saving around 65% of power. And yes, they are dimmed during the night. And what I think is even more important, they're also dimmed in parks, in those parks that have lights, of course, because that is very important for the fauna. This seems like a small thing and not necessarily that everybody has it in mind, but Vilnius Parkai does know it and would not allow to, full flash lights in the parks during the night. Of course, this is always a question then how that relates to the safety. But I think both can be ensured at the same time. We can find a compromise that actually achieves both goals. Yeah, municipal waste. That's a challenge. Yeah, we are not doing bad on EU average. We're very close to EU average last time I checked. But when you look at the front runners in the EU, the cities that actually have the least amount of municipal waste per resident, there's way to go. And I think smart solutions there, there's metering and actually reacting, monitoring the level and then reacting to the actual level of waste. That's something that would help. Data and data sharing. Absolutely, that would be wonderful. Reality, data is organized in silos and they are inaccessible. Making connection, I'm covering, as I said, social affairs, which very often have connection to health records. Yeah, that's absolutely interconnected, very close areas. It's not feasible still, because of data protection, but also because of the technology that is used and just cross-checking the same data within, let's say, social policy matters and health would be impossible today.
Thank you, Thomas. So I think, if, of course, our animals can't watch us probably, but if we could, we would definitely applaud you and would be very happy that right now the parks are dimmed during the nights and, our animals seems to be happier at least in Vilnius. Nice. And Ekaterina, so it's interesting to hear your opinion. So what do you see as innovation or as something must have and right now in our city or in other cities and how it will shape our city as well?
It's also about changing the paradigm of the cities themselves. So now the cities are really human-centered. So, and even when we start prototyping these future cities, we think about human in the center. Although now we're living in a very interesting period of time when the paradigm of thinking of ourselves in the world is changing. And I think that there is very strong trend in eco-centered thinking when we understand that there are different ways of being smart and various animals and plants, they also are being smart. And we can learn from their networks also, how do they exchange among themselves, what kind of communities do they build. So I think that it's a very important trend in the cities and reacting also towards this smart lighting. I remembered one discussion which was in Pori with the school children when the biologists found that okay, there was night lighting, new one installed near the school, but it was the area where the light bugs used to live, and they also must find themselves during some period of time lighting bugs. But now the lights are too strong and they can't find their partners. So it's a problem from the point of view of biologists. But they approached the municipality and the school, and altogether they were having the discussion whether the parents and the children are okay with making this light less, human-oriented and more bugs-oriented. And they decided that, yes, we're going to, our safety will be ensured, but also bugs are important. So that's also the way of smart approach to the city and to our needs.
Wow, I really like it. And all of this kind of comprehensive view on the things. Unfortunately, our time is going up, I guess, but, we have only a few minutes left. But, it was really nice to have you all here and to discuss these topics. And, from I guess, it's part of that, it's also education. Because, some people are thinking just what we think. And today, I guess, we got lots of also, and myself, I got lots of new kind of findings as well. Because I was, to be honest, also thinking about city from human perspective all the time. But now I understand that, human is like yesterday, a bit of, not human yesterday, but think about the human as a center as yesterday. Now it's like thinking as ecosystem, as a center, and that's probably new way, and everyone agree on that one, and all the technologies, we need to be connected and all the things. So yeah, and probably these other people here can also support the growth of Vilnius and other cities as well. So we have all the power here from all different angles. So yeah, thank you everyone, and yeah. We have a question? Yeah? Really fast. Okay.
So I can just So if you would be in Thomas' position, and if you would have unlimited money, okay, not unlimited, but like few millions, billions, something, what would be the 3 things that you would change in Vilnius like immediately? And in your sphere, I know that Ekaterina is really into human, and communities and nature in the city and so on. So can you tell 3 top things that you would improve immediately? And Thomas also can answer.
And maybe Thomas can start as a person with unlimited resources and money and connections. So.
I was ready to take notes on that question. No, my number 1 is, of course, education.
Great. I would agree. Okay, so number 1 is education, number 2 is education, number 3 is education. This is the way? Or you want to add another 2?
Well, no, yeah, education is top priority, and I think of all the other areas very much through the lenses of education. But if you force me to give another 2, I would say second one is, of course, public transport, which no, but it's all interconnected, yeah, and. Third priority, okay, probably that would also be close to public transport, no, but not that much. Maybe making something with a drone delivery in the city quicker than the others. That would be nice. Sort of adding a really visible, whatever, 3rd floor or 2nd floor of the city.
Okay, thank you. Edmundas? Ekaterina said she wanted to be the last just to finish that with a high note. Okay.
I'm a fan of this happiness, So, but I don't know what is happiness for Vilnius citizens. So I think the first thing if I would have unlimited resources, I would ask every and single person in Vilnius, and the person who is going to live in Vilnius and wants to live in Vilnius, or maybe is potential customers, client to live in Vilnius, what they really want, what is happiness for them, and then would focus on these 2. Because I don't know, I do not know. I had no idea, because happiness for me is completely different than maybe happiness for you. And you have to know where you have to invest. Yes, of course. Yeah, but maybe that's because I'm from business. I do not have unlimited resources. I have to respect the shareholders, and they respect the rules. First is to know what you have to do, and then to do.
Thank you. Edmundas?
I have definitely one. The first one would be education, definitely. There was this movie, Forrest Gump. I think everyone knows it. There was this phrase said, stupid is as stupid does. So I'll say that smart people can find smart solutions, and smart solutions can solve problems. And so education is definitely the first thing to invest into and invest a lot. And then I believe that all other problems can be solved just by financing this one solution. Eventually. Not immediately, but eventually, yeah.
And it's perfect because Ekaterina is the last person to comment on this, and she is actually involved in the education aspect. So, it's now your time to tell us.
Actually, in Vilnius, we had a lot of property which was in the hand of municipality. And if we really want to implement this principle of 15 minutes walk, which would reduce transports and which will solve transport jams problem, and then we will not need to invest more and more into asphalt, into the roads, which is also important for saving money and to putting them somewhere else. So then we need to map in each district what property do we have for further development of social infrastructure, for cultural infrastructure. Are there enough parks within 15 minutes walks? And we will see that really in many districts we do not have social infrastructure, enough of it, and definitely we do not have cultural infrastructure. We have districts with no places for people to go and to be together. And comparing to, for example, UK city, when you have small social clubs in your neighborhoods and you go there and you see many elderly people coming there and being together, and also then they start feeling happy because they're together with other people having beer or something, or tea with their milk in these places. So that's one of the things, not to be so quick to go to the auctions and to put this property to the auctions and let it to the private hand. And the second thing is, it's on the state level. We somehow prioritized big businesses, but small businesses and middle businesses are out of game. And that means that in each neighborhood, we have huge grocery stores, but we do not have these niche small stores which are very sustainable. They create a network of farmers and of people who can keep the sustainability going further. So that's also something to rethink, actually. How do we support small businesses which are really a huge player when you want to ensure sustainability?
Perfect, and thank you, Edita, for asking this question. And it's nice how audience interacted, but I guess we need to finish that right now because
unfortunately. Although, audience was interacting throughout the program in this Menti, kind of combining the Zoom way of doing things and the live way of doing things. So thank you a lot for everyone who joined. It was really a pleasure to see all of you. And thank you so much for the panel. It was super, super insightful to hear your thoughts and your opinions on these topics. So my only suggestion is to keep the conversation going. And, let's kind of make things better, more sustainable, more efficient, and smarter. Thank you.
Bye.